Got something for Mr. Morone?
Yes, sir.
Basically for the board. Met down here last Friday with FWC on the check station. They're wanting to implement them from December the 1st till March the 1st. Will be funded by FWC, as we don't have any Restore Act monies or consortium monies either. We have no way to fund it. If you remember, we discussed this at the last board meeting, I believe. The one part they wanted us to do was to help build some floating barges or floating platforms like we used in 1985. We're quickly approaching 1 month, a little over a month before the 1st of December. So my question was, is the board willing to try to find a way to I think we're gonna have to start with one of the floating platforms, which is where they'll utilize to check the oysters and implement the check station. They need to get out of our boat ramp area. Right now, you know, they did it last year, they were all in the boat ramp area there in East Point and in Lombardy, so that's the whole point of the floating structure, is to get them away where people can still utilize the boat ramp, launching their boats, picking their boats up. So I need to bring this to the board so that we can move forward and try to find somebody that could build this platform, and it would be at the county's expense. Does the county board want to move forward with that or not?
How big's the platform?
It's probably a 16, they hadn't given the exact dimensions. They were supposed to get back with me yesterday, and I hadn't heard nothing from them, but we were looking at probably 16 to 18 foot long, 12 foot wide.
Putting on some styrofoam?
Styrofoam.
If get dimensions, get back with me, we'll call the prison and see if we can get some carpenters. They got them out there to build them.
Okay, well, that's,
Yeah, that'll be, I mean,
but
we
you
can get
still
out
gotta
there.
have money to buy the material.
Yeah, we'll get
So,
the, yeah.
what I'm doing is asking the board, and what I'll do is I'll let you and Mike Morone work on that, William. I'll get the dimensions and get them to Mike Morone, let him get them to you, and then you can coordinate that. But we at least need one to start with on December the 1st, and put it in East Point so they're not blocking up that boat ramp area over there.
Right.
At Lombardi's and no more oysters that we have here at the west end of the bay, there will be a station there where people can come in and check the oysters. But I think if we could start with one of these barges until we have time to get the other one built or something, we need two, one for Appalachia, one for East Point. They've also hired 6 young fellows, local fellows from around Franklin County here to handle the oysters for the officers. They'll retrieve them off the boat, let the officer certify them, put them back on the boat. So they've hired 2 young fellows from the local community per officer to help the officer handle the oysters off the individual boats, get them off and on the boat to the platform, floating barge. That's all in the package, and the only funding they had available was to run them from December the 1st to March the 1st, and the county's contribution would try to be help get a barge built. And if we can get it done with labor out of the prison, then all we gotta do is buy the material. But we do need to move forward on this. If we try to go through a big bidding process and all that, that's 30 days. You gotta bid this. You're not gonna have to get it built, is what I'm saying.
We'll get it, all we gotta do is get the straps and the stuff and get it going. I know how to build it, I just have to get them, send the inmates out to help us do it.
So I need the boards.
You need a motion?
Motion for material.
Make a motion
for
a
cost.
second.
You gonna put cost on that, or,
Well, I don't really know what the cost is gonna be.
Ain't gonna be a whole bunch, we gotta help them. FWC's gonna try to protect the bay, we got to show our
Well,
interest in it.
that's right. They're paying for everything else. All we got to do is build. I figure $5,000 to build a barge.
Well, that's underneath the bid policy, so you can go in and do it.
It's absolutely under the bid policy, but I want the boards. If
you
the
make a
board,
motion and I'll second?
I'll make that motion to direct Mike Morone and the chairman to get with the program, see what we can do about getting the materials up for the carpenters and all at the prison, if we can secure that. If not, we'll have to find somebody else to build it, but it'd be better if we could get the
No, I'll go out there tomorrow too and see if they get with them, see if they can get the carpenters up. I got one good one on my
So
squad
my motion
now.
would be for you to work between you and
Yes, sir.
Yeah,
Mr. Morone to get this issue going and fund it. We'll have to find the funding from somewhere, whether we get it out of capital outlay or wherever we can get the funding through the county to pay for the material.
Did
That
you want to
motion is
put a
for-
price on that, 5,000?
Order expenditure up to the $10,000 bid policy.
Yeah, that'd be fine. I don't think it'd cost over 3 or 4 or
no, it
5,000.
won't cost that much.
but we need to get it done. We need to help, as the chairman said, we need to help them as much as we can if they're willing to fund everything else for this year.
Yeah, 'cause they spending thousands and thousands.
I'll second that motion.
I got a motion second on the floor, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. Any chairman comments?
Well, I have a thing for Michael Morone, and I've got something for Mr. Schuler too. Michael, at the last meeting, we were informed that forestry intends to do some aerial spraying.
Yes, ma'am.
On with some Garlon and expectorant stuff. Have you heard anything from the forestry?
Not since that, Commissioner. I think I'm verifying what email I sent, what additional information I sent.
We need to
requested.
find out and dig into this.
I'll call Mr.
Because, we need to find out, because we don't need any kind of aerial spraying in Tate's Hill Forest, because the garland is, very, contaminant
Yes, ma'am.
with, water and stuff, and I'm concerned about it. I know forestry has been having issues, in the past with tie-tie. They've been trying to eradicate tie-tie, which I strongly disagree with, because I believe it makes the bees have honey. It brings in the tie-tie blooms and stuff. But, I want you to go ahead and get with forestry and find out what you can about that. And if
Okay.
we have to, we'll have to just come back and make possibly a motion that we oppose the aerial spraying.
Right, okay.
Yeah. Are we gonna, Mr. Shooter, have you got a report?
No, ma'am, I do not.
Well, I have one thing on there for you too, and I'll go ahead and get him while we're there too. Bungalows by the bay,
Yes, ma'am.
when have you scheduled it for a public hearing?
It has not been scheduled for a public hearing. I have had communication with Mr. Anderson probably, let's say, a week to 10 days ago. He was looking for a status report.
Okay.
We're still trying to get an answer out of the Department of Business and Professional Regulation on the occupation and licensing issues. If you remember, that was one of the questions that we had, was how
Okay.
long during the year do they have to actually rent? From your attorney's perspective, they would actually have to rent 3 or more times a year to qualify for the Chapter 509 licensure. There seems to be perhaps a different perception that maybe they can simply advertise it but not necessarily rent. That may be what the counterpoint is. We don't have an answer back from BPR on that. I did follow up with co-counsel, Mr. Theriak, to prod him on that issue. I do have a backup solution that I've already drafted into the ordinance as an alternate proposal. I have not shared that with Mr. Anderson yet. And then basically, it would impose upon them some reporting requirements to the county so that you would be able to monitor what they're doing out there in terms of owner occupation as opposed to rentals, so that you will then have information in the future to determine whether or not they're in fact making a bona fide 509 hotel use or some other use. But again, that's just a fallback position in case we can't get a firm answer out of BPR.
Okay, but as soon as you hear from the PBR, you're ready to move ahead?
Absolutely.
Okay, that's no problem. I just wanna know, we can't help what the state does.
Yeah, on that issue, I rode by there the other day, and there's about 7 for sale signs up there. Now these people came here saying that they wanted the ability to just come down and spend weekends and do all this, but all these signs are not on there for rentals, they on there for sale. So my concern there is that these properties are being put up for sale, and they're having trouble selling them when they don't have a residential use to them, which is totally different than what was presented to us. If you ride by there right now, there's several for sale signs on those individual units.
There's no question in my mind that the board's prospective action in amending your zoning code is going to substantially upvalue their properties. I mean, that's just going to be an unintended consequence. In this case, the board's instructions to me was to find a way for the owners to occupy.
I understand.
Because right now, it's a non-conforming use. I think it does act as a restrictor plate on use and occupation, the ability to resell and potentially get financing.
I understand, I've
Those are
just
the
comment.
issues
I
Well,
know,
and
I know what you've been directed to do, but I know what I saw on the side of the road too.
Several of them.
For
Mr. Chairman,
sale.
I had a question for Mr.
Not for
Schuler too.
rent.
You were checking with the county's labor employment attorney about changes of job description for the, I think, for the library.
The
personnel.
policies and procedures, the
Yeah.
draft should be ready this week, and we anticipate having it ready for board action at your first meeting in November.
Good.
But the draft will be ready. If y'all want me to circulate the draft when it initially comes out, I can, but my recommendation is let the two attorneys polish it into a final form, and then we'll send that to you potentially by the first part of next week.
But that didn't include a change in any job descriptions, though.
Not that I'm aware of, it's a policy and
Policies,
procedure,
okay.
policies and procedures, a chain of command, a hierarchy, things of that
I think
nature.
that's something the new director would want to bring to the board,
Okay.
Commissioner.
And then when we get the new director, it will, because everybody's so against Carabel, everything, every email against it, just flooding Carabel's library, just out the yang.
I got a, we finna get this BP money and supposed to, they setting it up, and I think it's, all the other people, they got economic development people, we might need, it might be time for us to start looking into that, about getting an economic development person in here. So that,
You know, Mr. Noah, I made a motion several years ago to get that in there, and I didn't get no second on my motion. So,
well, we need it. It'll help now, cause we need.
it would help
we
them
sure-
too.
Yeah, we probably would've had more jobs and everything, we should've had it. Yeah, all the rest of the county got it. Well, the bay going down, the basic, and, we just gonna need something to help these people work. And maybe that'll bring some businesses in, something, I don't know. But it's just something to think about. I'll bring it up again later.
Any public comments?
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Alan Pfeiffer, Concerned Citizens, Franklin County. I absolutely want to echo Commissioner Lockley's comment that we need a economic development person who's dedicated only to Franklin County. It's the conflict of interest problem that has hurt us in the past. We've hired people, spent money, projects go elsewhere. We need somebody who can hold accountable, and I hope we have this conversation in the future. We actually talk about putting somebody in. I was going to ask Michael about the Bearwise issue. Are these retrofit kits for trash cans that keep bears out?
Supposed to be.
Yeah, we got, some of them they delivered some to the city, Carabel last week.
Are these kits available for sale to the public?
What,
Give-
retrofit
give-
kits?
Yes.
No, they're not, so you can pick them up.
No cost.
Okay, because there's hundreds of people in the county that are spending $5 a month, $60 a year for their bear-proof trash can.
Yes, sir.
That would love to.
What FWC is going to do is say, once they get all the kits in, we put some in a certain area, and then they put others out where you can go pick some up.
It's
To
two
add to
latches.
themselves.
Perfect.
It's two
Yeah.
door latches. It goes up there in two clips.
Simple as that.
And Mr.
Simple
Pfeiffer,
that.
I want to tell
I
you what
put
it
them on
is.
last week.
If the county or volunteers help with the install of certain ones in certain neighborhoods, we get a match credit, so we don't have to do any match
understand.
for the,
Understand.
kits. I'm sorry, I lost my train of thought.
No problem. I have two other things. Y'all know I work a lot on the Weems Hospital System issue. I want to give you a couple of numbers. We'll be brief. At the end of 2014, they had $786,000 in debt. At the end of fiscal year 2015, that increased to $993,000. On the financial statement balance sheet that we were just given today, $2,397,000, call it $2,000,004. Indebtedness jumped up over $1.4 million in the last fiscal year. That's cash, ladies and gentlemen, commissioners. And no smoke and mirrors can change. They lost $1.4 million in cash in the last 12 months, according to their figures. All right, by itself, that's fine. One thing that really upset me, most of you know that I pulled all the payroll records for the last 3 years. And I did a 3-year analysis where I put everybody down on a spreadsheet. I was shocked to see raises of 25 cents an hour to over $25,000 a year. And there was the top 1/3 of the people got 75% of the raises. 75%.
That's what our problem was with it.
One thing that needs to happen, and it needs your guidance, because obviously the existing management does not see this the way you do, is I think we need a minimum wage at the hospital. Because it's, whether it's a $10 or $11, there needs to be some floor. We're at essentially $26,000 a year for our employees here with the $25,000 base and the $1,000 bonuses plus full benefits. I think there is a need for a minimum salary that keeps somebody from being considered below the poverty line when they work a full-time job. And I would like you to consider the idea of instructing Mr. Cooper and the board to institute a minimum $11 an hour minimum wage. What do you think, commissioners?
I don't have no problem with it.
Makes sense.
but
Let's see what he
I
comes
don't
back
know.
with as far as the recommendation.
Yeah,
See where we go.
I don't have no problem with it.
I was gonna say, since you think I would contradict what Commissioner Parrish said, to see what they can afford first, and then we kind of go down that route?
You shouldn't raise anybody until the people at the very bottom are getting a subsistence wage.
Basically,
When
what the county does.
the average person in the hospital is making over $40,000 a year. The bottom 25%, the bottom are really far down, and they do need that help. And you know, I'm a fiscal conservative. I don't like raises. But
Only
I
if it's
can't
going to you.
understand how
Only
it's.
if it's going to you, you like them.
Yeah, well, that's true, that's true. But I can't understand why we've let this fester for so
We've
long.
already given him direction, Alan. Let's see what he comes up with.
Fair enough.
Let's see what he, but I do want to say something. If y'all remember about a month and a half ago, Alan stood up here and he said he gave those numbers before, and he didn't have the current numbers that we just got today. And he said, at this rate, the hospital's gonna be over $2 million on the bad side come the fiscal year. Didn't you say that?
Yes, ma'am, and it's 2.4.
2.4. So,
Thank you, and everybody have a great
too.
afternoon.
Any more public comments?
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Kate Aggie, our Library Advisory Board. I realize there's been some discussion since the action item about job descriptions, the job position. The departure of Miss Eugenia Butler is leaving a huge gap in skill set and knowledge, and I'm afraid that if we advertise for just the library assistants, as we always have, that we're going to be left with still a large gap in our library system. Although I know the position has already been posted to county employees, I would ask that maybe we don't post it in the local paper until after the new director, should we not get a qualified county appointee, applicant, until the new director is in place. I think the director should be tasked with where our resources are best used and what staff is needed. And I think it's somewhat unfair to ask a new director to come in with a staff member that not even a library personnel had the opportunity to interview and to hire. So I would ask that we save that newspaper ad until at least after the chance we've had to review the director applications that have come in and see if we believe we'll be able to hire somebody this time around.
I think, Mr. Chairman, I understood Michael's thought process as we've lost the library director, that's one employee down. Miss Eugenia's leaving, that's another employee down, so that's gonna leave you with one person to take care of this whole library in East Point until we hire some more help. And what you're saying is don't advertise, so whoever that one person is gonna be toting the whole load with no help. If she gets sick, the library's closed. Is that what you're suggesting?
Well, it is, I do understand that as an option, but I also believe that the earliest that it could be advertised would be the day before Ms. Butler's departure. So I think we're going to find ourselves in a situation for a minimum period of time to begin with. And I'd like to, and that will be after the applicants for the director's position has been received. So I think the advisory board would like the opportunity to review the director applications to see if we believe that there will be a qualified candidate within that group, and that hopefully we would be able to have somebody in place within 2 to 3 weeks, and we'd only be dealing with a shortage of staff, maybe an additional 2 weeks more than we would be looking at anyway. I also think the benefit of that is it's going to give somebody a fresh set of eyes to see where the staff and the resources truly need to be allocated. You know, obviously, there's some concern whether East Point or Carabel, you know, has the greater need, what the positions are. You know, East Point does perform a good number of the administrative duties for the Carabel Library, for the books and the cataloging. That may change. And I just think it's kind of somewhat unfair for us to rush and to fill that position and then have a director come in and try to make sense of kind of what's happened rather than being able to chart their own path.
And I do understand what you're saying, Commissioner. I mean, I do. There, as far as right now, there are only 2 applicants for the library director. So I guess what's gonna, if we go based on what you're saying, Kate, you will have to get back with me. You know, the thing is, to run okay, let's take 7 days. That'll push it back a week before we can run the ad. Because if you don't think the library advisory board like any of the 2 applicants, we're talking about
Well, but then we can proceed. I mean, we can come back here in 2 weeks and we can talk about then.
That's what I'm
I'm just
worried about,
asking
because
maybe not to
what-
place that ad into the local paper until maybe even our November 1st meeting. I can come back here. We'll have had a chance to review the applications and see if we're going to have somebody in place in a reasonable amount of time. We may have even had the chance to conduct interviews. So by November 1st, we may have a much clearer path of where we are
Well,
as
that-
opposed to,
yeah,
That's the reason why I did my motion like it is, because we have time restraints. So that's the reason why I did the motion like I did. As far as I'm concerned, my motion was voted on, made and seconded and voted on. And that's the way, I don't think we need to do anything else. We got.
Well, I mean, you know, you're under financial constraints. I know that we want to get the best director we can, but, but what we're paying this director ain't gonna change. It's in the county budget, and that's what it is. And I understand that Ms. Eugenia had a unique skill set, and we would like somebody comparable, but I don't think you're gonna get nobody
She got them
comparable.
over the
at-
years of being here.
well, actually, Eugenia
At those
came in
salaries.
with an MLS degree. She did not receive those skills of being here. That was actually something she came in with.
I understand.
And we were able to take advantage of that, or the director at the time
I
was able to take
understand, but I
advantage
don't
of
think you're
that.
gonna get another person
With that particular degree.
Skill set.
I do not think the
with the
skill
salary
set
that
we
we're
met.
paying. So
Yeah.
you have to look as you're looking for the best qualified employee and all this, you got to understand the financial constraints that you're working under, because the budget is set. There'll be no increase in that budget, and that's what you got to work with.
It is what it is.
It is what it is. I just want to make that clear as we're looking forward to hiring a new director, and we're looking for somebody to replace the, quote, library assistant. It's going to be hard to find somebody with the same skill set
That money.
for that amount of money. So, I mean, I just
Commissioner,
want to get that
there's
out there.
Nobody in Franklin County more than me would love that one of the 2 applicants that we have right now would be hired as a director, like ASAP. Trust me. But I don't know.
I don't know either.
Again, I
How many
understand
applications
exactly-
do we got in?
2 for the director. And I really understand where Kate is coming from. I just know, basically, I thought my task was to try to keep status quo, try to keep the 2 libraries open as possible. That's my thought process, but I do understand what she's saying. I mean, I'm trying to negotiate the 2 here to do the best job that I possibly can, based on what the board tasked me to do.
Now,
So-
what you came and brought before the board, that's the direction you felt like the board needed to go in. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am, just to try and have additional staff to keep
Right.
it open.
Right, that's why I made the motion.
But, okay, I know, I'm just trying to explain as
I
much as I can.
I had the lady in Carabel was gonna put in for the job, if she changed her mind, retired school teacher,
Oh,
you know,
oh, for the
librarian,
director, yes.
librarian with all the
I mean-
degrees she needed, and she backed out.
I'll say this, I will work with Kate as closely as possible, so hopefully everything just comes together. That's the best I
That's what- I
can
mean, that's
promise
all.
everybody,
Well, and I think Michael and I both recognize, and going back to what you were saying, Commissioner Parrish, there is no way that we can move forward without there's no way in the timeline, without there being a week or 2, that the East Point Library is going to be severely understaffed. We've had that concern in Carabel as well. We just want to make sure we do rather than reacting very rashly, we want to do absolutely the right thing for the right library, especially as we're trying, or for our libraries, as we're trying to get our policies and procedures and our job descriptions settled. And I just don't want us to react as quickly as possible without looking at doing the right thing. So I
And
look
we're
forward.
fixing to lose another in Carabel shortly.
I'm
so-
sorry?
We're fixing to lose another employee in Carabel shortly, so she's fixing to be gone.
Okay.
I know you smiled.
No,
y'all.
no, I'm
I
smiling
know,
because
I know.
because I'm nervous
She-
that
she-
that's
no,
one more
no,
gone.
she gonna
I mean,
give it to
that's,
y'all. She's been hammered on Facebook, she's been hammered, every email we get, she's hammered, and the Carabel Library's hammered to just out, so she's fixing to let y'all have it.
well, we'll have to cross that bridge when we come
We're
to it.
fixing to cross it.
I
We're
can't,
crossing it now.
We're fixing to cross it.
We're crossing
All
it
right.
now.
thank you.
All right, meeting adjourned. Oh,
What you think Miss Dottie Thornburg for? Miss Dottie, you asked for public comment.
yeah.
Hi, my name is Dottie Thornburg, and I'm the Christmas Parade Event Coordinator for the East Point celebration. All I wanted to say was thank you to the commissioners and thank you to Mr. Moreau for getting us on the
Yes, ma'am.
agenda. That's all.
I didn't see your hand.
It went on quick.
I didn't see it, I was.
Thank you.